Hey everyone, Biscuit again, and in this video we're taking a look at the high-grade Future Century God Gundam. To start with, the God Gundam is a Gundam used by the main character Domon Kashu in the series Mobile Fighter G Gundam. My short thoughts on the series? Boring and borderline racist at times. This guy, however, I find to be extremely awesome for a Gundam design. Amazingly, the kit out of the box looks almost spot on to the original anime design. The colors this thing are molded in are very nice and seem to be almost a tiny bit glossier than Bandai's normal plastic, if that even makes sense. What's not spot on about this kit is the color inaccuracy. You get a huge sticker sheet, which unfortunately I did have to get into. It's here for somewhat of an understandable reason. A lot of these black sections are for just the details all around, like on the feet, skirting right here, and in the shoulders. You could go over that with a black panel lining marker, which is what I did for the top right here, just so that way you can see what that would look like. It might be a little more glossy, but these stickers aren't actually the worst thing ever. What is the worst thing ever, and what really irks me about the color inaccuracy, is this in the chest. Now, for some unfathomable reason, this isn't a separate piece. I took it upon myself to paint this. It's not a separate piece, and I don't understand why. There's so much yellow already on the kit, I don't know why this had to have been molded in blue. That's the color it comes molded in, and you will have to paint that. As well as these Vulcan guns right here when you open them up. Not molded in their color. Actually, that sticker doesn't even cover the whole thing. That's all you get for color accuracy of that. So I just keep them closed all the time and forget that they're even there. Color accuracy on this thing kinda sucks. What almost makes up for it is this thing's bountiful array of accessories. First of all, the hands. You get a pair of closed fists. Those grabbing hands can actually hold these included beam sabers. You get one shorter blade and one longer blade, and they hold into the hands very, very nicely. And when not in use, they can store right here on the side skirts. You also get a bit of rotation there. Awesome. And you also get a pair of what I can only call burning hands? Shining finger? I don't really know what they're called for the God Gundam. I know on the Shining Gundam they're called the Shining Finger, though. And these catch the light amazingly. They're going to be more relevant later on in the video, but I just had to point them out right now. They almost look like they're glowing under certain light. That is cool. And finally, you get a pair of chopping hands? Actually, it says right here in the instructions they're for recreating this pose. Don't really know what that's for. Looks kind of stupid, to be honest. Would have known if I watched G Gundam, but it's boring. And for his final accessory, we have to come to his back, remove it, and fold it up. So here we've got a core fighter? Flyer? Chest flyer? I have no clue what they call it in G Gundam. But full transformation, and you even get some chromed out stickers right there. Pretty cool. You can really get a lot of fun poses out of this guy with the amount of accessories that you have. Despite it being a bit old and kind of jank, it's still really fun to handle. And that's just kind of a testament to how this thing has held up over the years. Speaking of holding up, my particular copy of the high-grade God Gundam has some issues. It's unfortunately a byproduct of the polycaps in this build. Because of the time it came out in, being about 2010, I believe, this thing has a ton of polycaps that make up a lot of its joints, especially here in the shoulders and down in the legs. And for some unfathomable reason, it's just so loose, especially this one up here. Now, I have built this guy once before, and I've also built the Blazing Gundam. You can check out that review on my channel, too. And that kit might have had a loose joint. Actually, we can check right now. So we've got my old Blazing Gundam right here, and upon giving it a quick shake, it's very loose right here, and yep, fell out in the exact same spot. I don't know what it is about the God Gundam in particular, because this thing was based off of this. All their joints are exactly the same. And that's just, unfortunately, what happens with polycaps. They get loose over time, and, well, this thing I've only actually had for a couple weeks. I haven't actually taken it out of the box ever since I built it. Yeah, it definitely really sucks. While we're at it, we might as well talk about the articulation. Head is on a ball joint, so it can look up, down, and it will turn around, but unfortunately, because of the armor clashing, it'll only go about that far. You can force it a little more, but then it'll start coming off. You don't actually get too much out of that. This piece in the chest can push in and out because why not? The shoulders are on polycaps, so they can move out, and even without a specific joint to move it back, they move back pretty far. You actually get a ton of range out of that ball-jointed shoulder. Arms will move up about that far, and up all the way like that. Rotation here all the way, that's a little tight, be careful. Single jointed bend at the arm for 90 degrees, really? And of course, all the hands are on a ball joint, and they can do whatever. Now, the torso on this thing is a little... well, I'll just show you. So you get arcing back, crunch, and a side to side, but if we tear him apart, you can see that that's a ball joint polycap, and you actually have a bit of a red part right there. That's actually there for a really cool reason, and that's to get make it look a little more natural whenever you have the arcing back or even side to side going on. That's really cool, and I'm glad that there's no little funny gap right there. Front skirts are on ball joints, side skirts can move up just a little bit, of course that before mentioned rotation, and the back skirt can move out and even has a bit of a wiggle right there, so that's pretty cool. There's a really cool hip joint in here. First of all, that's your action base connector. Hips can shift up and down just like so, and will even rotate around right there. So that gets the best of both high-grade hip joints right there. The leg can kick up about that far, that's pretty nice, and back about, let's get this out of the way, there you go, and it'll kick back about that far. Legs move out fairly nicely. You'll get a little more out of it if you move. It's just a bunch of clashing parts. If you move them out of the way, you'll be able to get more out of that. You get a double jointed bend at the knee. Careful not to tear it off. That's very nice. And surprisingly enough, you get quite a bit of movement out of this foot despite the big armor pieces. It'll move down that far, move up that far, and there's even a bit of rotation up there because of the way it attaches in. Very neat. And a leg rotation. Don't know if I mentioned that, but you got it there. Despite a lot of my criticism, I can't deny that this thing is super fun to pose and handle, well, other than the solidity issues. Being the God Gundam and out of G Gundam, this thing packs in a little bit more than what meets the eye. Let's get into that right now. And here we have the burning mode, which is really where the God hand effect parts come into play. And you know what? It's pretty cool. For as simple as it is, it's really just moving parts up in random places. It's really cool and pretty effective at what it does. You get a lot of cool detail revealed, especially in the back of the legs. There's not a whole lot to say about it. It essentially is just a God Gundam with its chest and wings open. Nothing more else to say. Quite honestly, this thing's a little more work than it's worth. It's not bad by any means. It's just not up to the level of quality that I'm used to seeing from Bandai models. Again, this thing did come out in 2010, so there's a little bit of leeway when it comes to bashing on this thing, but there's just some really inexcusable parts, like some of the color separation and some of the solidity, which, to be honest, could easily have been fixed had this thing been given a little more thought. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot to like about this kit, but there's even more to dislike about this kit, and this unfortunately is one of those cases where the cons outweigh the pros. If you still want to pick this guy up, I'll have it linked in the description below. It'll take you to Amazon where you can get this thing, but I would advise saving your money and getting the real grade instead. Unfortunately, I don't have that, and this is the best thing I have, but if you're considering getting a 1/144th scale God Gundam, I would get the real grade. As always, thank you so much for watching. My name's Ben Biscuit. You can find me on Instagram in the link in the description below, and that'll do it for this video. I'll see you guys next time.